singular pleasure last weekend of, well, spending it in Las Vegas at Defcon 11, the notorious hacker convention. That's the physical gesture of the day. Part of the reason is because, well, you know what? We're out there. Tech TV sponsored the first Defcon Wi-Fi Shootout. Now, in order to cover a Defcon Wi-Fi Shootout, well, we had to find it. Well, if there's some driving involved. Check it out.
We're on our way to the Wi-Fi Shootout here at Defcon, which is nowhere near Las Vegas. It's about 60 miles outside of Vegas in a pre-selected but secret location that is centrally located near absolutely nothing. Dave Moore, what's going on? Where did the idea for the Wi-Fi Shootout come from?
I was in my backyard welding on my boat trailer and thinking about our trip to Defcon, and just had the idea, a contest. What kind of contest? A Wi-Fi contest.
So this isn't award driving. This is totally different.
The teams will have to see how much distance they can get using their Wi-Fi rigs. They'll be stationary at each end.
So basically we got a bunch of people up on the hill here shooting for distance to see how far they can go.
Yeah, and I expect some really interesting results.
We're not quite in the middle of nowhere, but we can see it from the top of the hill. How'd you pick this area? What were you looking for?
As much line of sight as we could possibly get. And this is pretty good out here.
People set up a base station at this end. At the other end, they just haul for the horizon. How do you prove that somebody's actually logged a distance?
There'll be a contest staff member at each end. Contestants are required to be able to transmit and receive a specific text message that's supplied by us on the spot.
How do you figure out how far they've actually gone?
We do a GPS reading for where they are at base camp, and then a GPS reading for where they are in the field, and plug those numbers into a calculator. And according to the map, those guys up there are at 4,650 feet.
What do you guys call yourselves?
Adversarial Science Laboratory Rules.
This is not your typical Wi-Fi antenna. And as a matter of fact, you guys were worried about standing in front of it yesterday because you're worried about being sterilized and or otherwise harmed in a microwave kind of cooking hot dogs fashion, right? What's going on here? Is this antenna as powerful as you claim?
It's fairly powerful. Probably on the order of 30 dB gain.
So, Lucent card here.
It's just a standard PC. Lucent card feeds up into an amplifier by hyperlink. And this part of it, the entire part is a cone antenna. You'll see that all the energy gets concentrated back onto the antenna that's at the base on the inside.
How directional is this antenna?
Extremely directional. It's like pointing a laser at that mountain over there.
5 degrees, 10 degrees, 20 degrees?
Somewhere on the order of 5 degrees.
Really?
All right,
close to 50.
let's rock and roll.
I can't exactly see you.
Getting anything, sir?
Down the road there.
You want to do more? Or? Which channel has the lowest frequency?
Hey, the problem is with our wireless cards, we can't fake them into channel 11, so they're pretty much stuck on channel 10 right now in ad hoc.
No, you can change it. Yeah, we got a signal.
All right, let's send it.
Yep, we got a signal.
It's okay. So we'll just jump on NetCat and we'll try to keep it stable. Got it? Woohoo! Next year, I am bringing a tripod.
Yeah!
Yeah! Baby.
Come on, not bad for a bunch of slackers with some beef stew cans.
That was cool. It was very cool. Actually, it was amazing. There were 6 categories. There were entries in 5 categories, which included everything from commercially made antennas up through the homemade antennas. The big, scary homemade directional antenna, which is the big, giant one you saw there, was from, well, ASL rules. I just have trouble saying that name for reasons I won't explain on air. But they actually got that big giant horn you saw there. They actually did 35.2196 miles.
Nice.
And
so now, you said that thing could fry you. Are you serious about that? I mean,
they were pretty serious about that. Like, you know, everybody was joking about it, but as soon as like anybody said, okay, I'm powering on the card, people started running away from the front of the antenna.
So here's a question for you. I saw the other teams holding them at their heads.
Yes.
That can't be good then.
Well, the one thing you saw were like kind of like the girl sitting on the hood of the car. That was ASL rules. It was a 14 dB antenna they had on the other end, directional antenna. And what a lot of people discovered is the biggest problem really wasn't the distance, but getting line of sight, right? They thought they could have gone much farther than 35 miles if they had a four-wheel drive vehicle to climb up one of the mountains.
Okay.
On top of the line of sight, the biggest issue is actually, you saw the guys with the tin cans. They did over 5 miles with those 2 can antennas, which were not made out of Dinty Moore stew, but another low-cost brand of stew.
The damn roast.
Yeah, it was like a Hormel chili or something. Cans.
So someone could do this at home then. They could just basically
They could
build
totally
these
do this at home. But the biggest problem people had was actually pointing them and getting them, especially with a very narrow beam, getting them synced on each other. So I think everybody's going to bring some kind of a stand or tripod next year.
Very nice.
To try to make that. So actually, did we tell you about what happened Friday when we drove out? It was raining. Check out the video of that. The guys, when they were stitching together an antenna, they were stitching it together on the hill in the rain with the wind blowing.
Oh, there it is right there.
You can't even see, like the wind was blowing like 20, 25 knots. I think they climbed up the hill in the wind just to get out of the wind for that one.
Nice. What else was at DEF CON? Did you get to check out?
I didn't get to see a lot of stuff at DEF CON because I was out at the Wi-Fi with the Moore family. Actually, you saw David Moore, Michelle Moore, their daughter, were all out there hosting this, which was really cool to see. Shmoo Group had a really wild sort of a robot that was going around trying to tap into people's computers. Saw some cool stuff with identifying attackers on 802.11 and some other stuff that I won't talk about on air.
Very nice.
So we'll talk about that later.